Good morning. It's February the 2nd, 2026, 10:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, and today's daily briefing, we're going to cover a couple things. Agitators, Iran, and then kind of the process of elimination when it comes to intellectually making cases for any cause. So before we jump into the briefing, the weekend was very nice, was refreshing, relaxing. Me and Asherah, we spent the Sunday, our anniversary, 10 years, really just hanging out at the house, staying warm. We did try to move the storms in for the snow for Florida. But as you know, my wife kind of found out it's a little bit more difficult than what most people think, right? You know, I know humanity thinks that the weather is just a spontaneous type of thing. When set on autopilot, that is the case, but having to move like troughs of air, so essentially pulling down Arctic air all the way down to Florida is a really hard job. So, as I explained in last week's video, before we were trying to get it to snow in Florida, because the purpose of that was we were going to move to a state like Arkansas because it had snow on a regular basis. That was the big thing we were missing, is we wanted snow. And so, deciding to stay in Florida, we were trying to get to snow in Florida. But we were close. It did end up snowing, I believe, in some pockets. It did not hit us directly. But that's okay, because it's still a witness in the fact that, see, Florida has Gulf streams. The Gulf Stream essentially is where the rain comes in, where it's hot and muggy, and then the cold air follows it. So what she had to do was to reverse that, to bring the cold front first and then the rain after. So it really is changing a large pattern in the atmosphere. So again, just to the witness credit, it still did happen. So I mean, and that's a testament to her, right? To my Asherah, right? That was her birth child per se, that she wanted to happen. It obviously had my blessing, but I still give her a 5 stars. Like, she did really well on it, and you know, at the end of the day, it's still counted as a witness because Florida did see snow. So, yep, we ended up having our steak, which I used a Dale's seasoning marinade, and I should have gotten the lower sodium because the steak came out really good, but it was a little on the salty side, and we love salt. Like, we need salt, as I've said. Me, her, and Cam typically run low sodium most of the time, so we eat over the normal consumption of salt for most people. I mean, we're not a people, we're an Elohim, so it is different, biologically different, but of course, spiritually different. And on that note, before I go into the daily briefing, for first-time seers, believers, what have you, right, I am the God of the Bible, and me being here now, the last, what they call the last days, the last chapters, essentially this is the pivotal turning point in human history, that humans go from archaic thinking, behaviors, and essentially rebellion, and then they begin to walk into the light. When someone says they're walking in the light, what does that really mean? That means that they are abiding by kingdom principles, and they are abiding by a code, a high moral code that is allowed in heaven and should be done on earth. But as we see on earth, it is still chaotic, it is still rebellion, it is still selfishness, ego-driven. So most people, religious or not, are actually not walking in the light. They're walking in the will of their own heart, which is usually faulty. So, another way to look at the light, right, is, again, purity is the key, right? When you are sinless, pure in intention, and you do not have any selfishness in your heart, I, as Elohim, am able to kind of activate that person to doing kingdom work, which means then your feet are guided by heaven, angels, myself, and then you carry out actual tasks for the kingdom. That could look like helping a family in need. That could look like taking what your purpose has been for 25 years and then applying it where it is required and needed. And again, light in a way is not magic, how humans understand magic, but imagine when you are in like the government and you're given a special clearance. That gives you then an ability to go into restricted areas and to do things because you've been granted access by the governing authority. I, as Yahweh, do the exact same thing with humankind. When somebody essentially has come to me in spirit, in prayer, and intercession, and they're saying, Father, I'm ready and willing to work for the kingdom, direct my path. If someone is still committing sin, they're never going to be capable or acceptable to working in kingdom purpose. So it's like, turn back around, kid. You got to study more and get right before you're going to be fit for service, right? Kind of like the military. The military is not accepting people that fall under a certain range, right? If you're overweight, they can't use you. If you're flat-footed, they can't use you, right? If you're blind, they can't use you. Like, there's different stipulations that the military says, like, we don't want you. The same thing when it comes to me, the King of Heaven, is if someone's come to me sinful, and they're like, yeah, okay, well, I just have this little bit of a dark part of me, and I want to work for the kingdom of God. Well, that ain't going to happen. Right? And being an employee of the kingdom of heaven, me, obviously you need to know me, who is the boss of that, and the rules, the 10 Commandments. Obviously you should know enough of my word that if you are speaking to any individual, right, they should look to you as a light, right? They should be looking at you as saying, oh, this person is guiding me in righteousness. They're telling me the right things to do. Right? Or carrying out that purpose. So moving into our topics here. So I got sidetracked. So anyway, the steak came out good. Next time I think I'll use the reduced sodium Dale's marinade. The asparagus did not turn out very good. And then the baked potatoes were okay. The kids had their pizza. They were good with that. Yeah. So then we watched the Hunger Games. That was our weekend. And starting off now, Agitators. So the difference between a protester, right? If someone's protesting, that means that you are a protest. Let's look at definitive language for a minute. So protest. Yeah, so for example, right? An organized public demonstration expressing a strong objection to an official policy or course of action. An example given is a protest over higher gas prices. Okay? So that would be something worthy of protesting, right? Saying, we deserve better gas prices, right? I think we should go out there and protest for cheaper batteries, because if anybody's looked at the price of batteries at Walmart, I mean, they are through the roof, right? Go protest for better food. Protest for the McNuggets to not have that nasty little piece of gristle that's in every nugget, right? Like, that stuff is nasty. You know, we need to get rid of that. It's basically, it's like chicken choppings. It's kind of gross. You would think that these problems have been solved, but yet they still exist. So again, there is protesting that is absolutely needed, right? Imagine back when America was founded. What did people protest? They protested paying like too many taxes, right? They were saying, guys, you're ripping us off. If I am making $100 per barrel of crop or per bucket of crop, and the government says, well, I'm taking $25 out of every 100, that eventually it ends up hurting my ability as that farmer to buy more seed, to plant bigger crops, and then to buy the pesticides or herbicides necessary for good food. That's a cause to protest. So they would, right? They would stand out there and say, lower our taxes, lower our taxes. And then the governor, the mayor, or whatever governing body would then try to review it and see if they could make a change, because obviously the people were in unrest. What makes these situations in Minnesota and all around America different is these are not just causes. Why are they not just causes? Because the very laws in which protect this nation are being attacked. And that is a faulty way of thinking. That would be like me as a father, which I am, and the father of humanity, but let's say in my personal home, and as an example, let's say that every night I cook good meals, because I do. But let's say that my kids say, you know what, we don't want to eat good chicken. We don't want to eat good food. We want to eat fast food every night. And I'm like, well, number one, like, that's going against your health. So I have the last word. That's not happening, right? You can't go and protest against something that's harmful to yourself. Protesting illegal aliens, like protesting to keep them in our country, is a direct harm to American society. It's proven through the track record of all the murders that happened, because if you want to also look at this, right, these people are in a way, like, actually I had it perfect yesterday and I kind of slipped my mind, but, you know, imagine their goal, right, these illegals, their goal is to sneak in, and then they get to basically freeload, right? They get to the land of the free, where in their mind it's all free shit. They get free food, free housing, free healthcare, and who's giving them this shit? Democrats are giving it to them. So then the Democratic Party as a whole needs to be looked at, because, to be honest, at this point, based on what I've seen as God, it is literally looking like, no BS, it is looking like the entire Democratic and left side of the entire political spectrum are truly just anti-American. That's how they act. That's what they're protesting, the exact laws that keep America America and keep the civilization moving forward. They don't want any part of that, right? And we're going to break this down further. Agitators. So these agitators, they rely on the shock value to disrupt and to hold normalcy hostage. And they root for the team of anarchy, the anarchist of humanity, not the raising of it, right? So these are the people that are saying, essentially, if you were to take their bullshit words out of their mouth and put the truth in there, and it would say, we're either being paid to do this crap, so we don't even really understand what it's for. Fox interviewed somebody at one of the protests in Los Angeles, either Friday night or Saturday night, and when they interviewed the guy and they said, what are you here for? And he's like, we're just here to back up our friends. She's like, okay, well, what's your cause? We're just here to back up our friends. We're here to stand in unity. The guy was clueless. You see what I mean? They're zombies. They're asleep. They're just followers. They're taking messages from loser television personalities like Kathy Griffin. And Kathy Griffin, as God Almighty, every flesh gets to see me when they die. You are probably you are the kind of person that should really, really, really not want to see me. Because I do not like you. I do not like any of the things in which you stand for. And guess what? You are just another dime a dozen, just like the rest of the left side of the wing, because you are all insane, to be quite honest. That would be the equivalent of something so normal as, let's say, wiping your butt after you go to the bathroom, and a Democrat would sit there and argue until they are blue in the face about why you shouldn't wipe your butt. This is literally how stupid this stuff is. It is insane that I, as God, have to explain this to humanity. So, they like to do these shock and awe values, right? The pink hair to get the attention, and then the nose ring for the shock value, and then a different gender to ensure that any normal person would then look at them and give that face. And that's what these leftists do. As soon as you look at them, they're like, oh, you're looking at me weird? Like, they're picking fights with normal people. So it's like, okay, you're dressed up, you look like look at like a twisted cartoon character. Like, you look like little monsters, and then you expect the world to just like ignore you. Then if you're ignored, then you're upset and you make a big ordeal because then you're being ignored. Let our voice be heard. But then if someone pays you attention, then you engage into argumentative behavior to try to say that you are the normal and that the normal is bad. This, again, is calling good evil and evil good. Like, these are literal biblical principles, and it has nothing to do with white Christian nationalism. It has nothing to do with black Christian nationalism. It is called normal human society. I hate to break it to you, but humans on Earth are created beings. The entire Earth as a whole is a creation. Okay? That means that with every creation, there is purpose in mind, and then there are, things that go with purpose, and they help the creation, and then there are things that go against the purpose, and thus hurts creation and all of its inhabitants. So, again, our pink hair, left-wing, nose-ringed, nasty lady who has now a different gender because they want to ensure that any normal person is going to look, and then they verbally attack these people, the good people, under false accusation or assumed bias. These are problems. It is also a problem, right, for people like Don Lemon to go into religious churches. And again, I don't care if you walked into a Buddhist temple, if you walked into a Jewish synagogue, a Christian church, if you even walked into a mosque, at least if the mosque wasn't murdering people, then that's at least one point. My point is, any place has the protections to be able to worship whatever they believe in peace, number one. Number two, if you look at what the left is doing, they're hypocrites on every angle. Because if you go back to the dark days of America before the Dr. Martin Luther King days, unfortunately, the Ku Klux Klan was a very real and active organization. Freedom of speech be damned, I don't believe that the Ku Klux Klan should have any rights to be able to assemble, and that's just my opinion. And because America is a democracy, it's up to the people, right? But I don't believe that the KKK should have been allowed back in those days to enter into black churches and harass congregants. Because guess what would happen? The exact same laws that the liberals and the Democrats are trying to hide behind for their antics is the exact same that the Ku Klux Klan used to hide behind. What's even more fascinating is back in the 1900s, pre-1955, most of the high caliber races, such as the Ku Klux Klan and Nazism, were actually democratic socialists. And that's a fact. That is a historical fact. The Democrats and the libs have tried to hide history by calling it different things. So again, back to mislabeling, which I've covered last week's video, that again, wicked and evil people in the world, from the miner, from the whatever his name, Mr. Pretty, right? These types of people mislabel things, or the people that are protecting or defending these insane acts of evil and wicked and violence, they're the actual ones that were seeded of hate. They literally, you can look these things up. You can go and actually educate yourself, because unfortunately, the classrooms in these times, they don't teach accurate history. They're not teaching that from its inception, the donkey party, the Democratic Party, the asses of the political spectrum have been historically Nazis. KKK members have disrupted black religious services. They were the ones that were fighting so heavily in the Civil War between the North and the South. It has traditionally always been originally the conservatives who have fought for black rights, who have fought for American rights, who backed up Dr. Martin Luther King, who ensured there were laws to protect KKK from coming into Southern Baptist churches that were 99.9% blacks that were being harassed by Democratic Klan members. This is my point. This is a problem because we have a demon problem. These people have opened themselves up to demonic possession or to demonic encouragement. because of their sinful behavior. Sin is a gateway to demonic possession, or at least having that whispering ear. And that is why it is a big deal. If humans could understand the creation, like I explain it with the dog, as a human being, a sin is deadly to you, because thus it opens you up. It takes away the holy protecting power of me, Almighty God, and then it says, I don't need that. I'm going to open myself up to sin by lying. Or pretty much go through the Bible. You'll figure out what sin is real quickly. The 10 Commandments, like all these things, right? Righteous behavior versus ungodly behavior. It's all has to do with character. Are you the kind of person that is going to do the bare minimum and say you did? That's a lie. Or are you the kind of person that's going to constantly strive to be better and better for it? Right? Here's just an example based on like I lost my train of thought. But, and this is what I mean. It is so easy to see, but yet it is almost flabbergasting to witness, because how are otherwise normal people participating in such acts of ugliness, the absence of any real humanity? How are they so void of logical, humanistic common sense? This is what I mean. The Democrats defile their own body for the sake of what? Of freedom and independence from me, God? Okay, fallen angels did that. To intellectually make cases for any cause, one must first compare it to the source of the topic. Okay? So again, we start with the behaviors. Any psychologist with his or her merit would be able to explain motivating factors for humanistic behavior and then core belief values, which I covered last week. So if we go back to, and we were to look at 500,000 Democrat leftists, right? The pink hair, there's no male, there's no female, there's no rules, unless it fits their agenda. And then, well, Democrats just lie because that's just what they are. That is their literal, like, that's their skill, right? And if you look at this, for my really slow people, let's use Batman, right? Because apparently State Farm likes to use Batman. You guys need to get better marketing, because honestly, you suck. But let's use Batman. Let's say we're watching Batman, and in the scene where Batman is going to try to save both of these, I don't know, I think they're like ships or something, and they're both rigged with explosives. See, the Joker is basically counting on, like, the worst of humanity to usher in his agenda. Any normal person watching Batman is like, the Joker's a pretty sick, sadistic person. Like, I think that the creators do a good job at painting what psychosis really looks like. And it's interesting because if you look at liberals, they actually resemble the Joker, right? Their hair's all different colors. They try to make themselves look grotesque. And they do these things because they want normal people to gawk at them. And then if someone gawks at them, they feel that now you've opened the door for them to preach essentially Satan's doctrine, right? You're obeying rules. You're a stupid ass. You shouldn't be doing that. You're a bootlicker. Oh, you're a Nazi. You're an imperialist. So if these are the claims by the Democrats, then let's start breaking them down. So, Nazism. Show me one American example. How is ICE murdering millions of people based on race? That's Nazism. Almost 20 million Jews, homosexuals, blacks, and virtually, if you were not the blonde hair, blue-eyed poster child, then you were considered a unfortunate or a degenerative. And the Nazis would kick down your door, rip your entire family out, and sit you on a train car at 30 below zero in Germany or Poland, and then they would ship your asses to a barracks where you are laying on floor that has 6 inches of human feces on it. People are dead and they're frozen. Babies are having to eat recycled food out of the feces of their own mother. And Nazis are shooting people because they spilt their coffee on their uniform. To even have leaders such as Tim Walz, who your name is on my list, Tim Walz, you got up in front of a bunch of very malleable, very young people and spread your hatred. You have spread your demonic voice. I will shut your voice, sweareth I, saith Yahweh Elohim. I am done. Guess what? This is my creation. This is my nation. If you want a dictator, this is a godocracy. That means if you do not obey what I say, that means that divine will and providence will remove you from my creation. I do not need armies. Every army in the world can be my army. So, moving on. How is that Nazism? How is enforcing existing United States policy Gestapo? American citizens should and have no business interfering with police business, federal or state business. That has nothing to do with Gestapo. That has nothing to do with Gestapo. In fact, America is the only nation that has the level of freedoms, sadly, so free that is the only mechanism that can actually destroy America from within. That's where the Founding Fathers, again, I come always back to this, because if the Founding Fathers said in the original documents, this experiment called America can only work with a righteous, self-imposed, law-abiding people who are willing to fight and die for the country because the country's freedoms are so unique. But if the devil were to infiltrate America, it would begin convincing its citizens that it is something other than what it represents in truth and honesty, and thus is the Democratic Party. Alright, I'm gonna take 5. I need to, calm my blood pressure down. And we're back. So we were leaving off on, to intellectually make cases for any cause, one must first compare it to the source of topic, right? So again, when we're talking about why, just because something may not necessarily be a law, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. So this is where I come in, right? This is where biblical guidance comes in. It's a handbook for living. It is examples of what not to do. I get so frustrated with the churches of today. They try to politicize my word when it shouldn't be, 1, but 2, it needs to be a guidebook for humanity. Forget politics for a minute. Forget religion for a minute. Because, again, this is where we have evil called good and good evil, right? We have literal lawmakers that are elected by illegals and then funded by the U.S. government, and then they're protecting their illegals because, again, this is the only way Democrats can win. And then through demonic possession and brainwashing, we end up having 20 to 40% of America turning on the very land in which, truly has the freedoms that no other place in the world has. There are places in the world that if you so much as speak the dictator's name in the wrong context, you could be hung. If you so much as protest about too much gum on the sidewalk, you could be shot and hung. America doesn't do that. Unfortunately, America is taking the brunt of this demonically possessed part of the nation, and I'm about to say America's on the cusp of a fucking civil war if something doesn't change, because the quiet majority are the conservatives, the quiet majority are patriots, the quiet majority are true Americans, true and blue, and those people are not going to be tolerating this for much longer. So we are about to have a situation that is unprecedented happening in America in a very real way. You have people on the left, these fake actors, that are literally saying to spy on your Republican neighbors because they're preparing. Well, what are you going to prepare with? Nose rings and dildos? Because the fact of the matter is, this nation is a very serious situation, and we are not going to give it over to Democrats or pink-haired liberals with nose rings and lesbianism. It's not happening. It's not happening. There are plenty of places in the world that I thought all of you leftists wanted to move if Donald Trump got elected. Again, I got him elected because I wanted to make sure you dumbasses moved. You didn't move yet. Moving on. How is obeying the 10 laws of civil sanity Christian white nationalism? Okay? Because that, again, it makes no sense. 10 civil laws of sanity. You don't steal because we don't want our own shit stolen, so don't go steal anybody else's, right? No adultery, no lying. Like, very, very simple. Do not murder. These are very basic commandments, and yet there's a problem with having them in public places. They are against the law anyway. Why not have the warning sign? Oh, because it gives the Democrats more excuses to try to get away with shit. They are lawless. They are lawless. I'll say it one more time. They are lawless. That means they are devoid of any righteousness. They do not know the right thing to do. Thus, if they are incapable of understanding the right thing to do, they are literally mental. They are like the Joker, right? They now walk around very flamboyantly with the hallmarkers 70 years ago of what insanity looked like. If you were to go back in time 70 plus years and you were to see civilization, it looked relatively normal. People dressed normal, they acted normal, they at least had common sense, they knew a general right from wrong, and now they literally all dress up every day with the hallmarks of insane people. You do know that 70 plus years ago, if you were gender confused, you could have been put into a mental institution because it is an unnatural thing. That's true. Right? If you were going around putting holes in your face and then walking around with like bright pink hair, people would look at you that you're mentally ill. Asherah makes an amazing point. Either one, they are truly demonically possessed, and that's an issue that I'm going to have to deal with, because if I start sending judgments out to take care of demons, and I'm about to, just a heads up, first of the month is always going to be a big demon clear for me. So, if they're demonically possessed, I will send out judgments, and those people will succumb to peril one way or the other. I will get them out of the way. Number two, if a big majority of them are just very unaware that they're nasty, disgusting human beings to the point that they are literal mental patients, then I'm directing the Trump administration to reopen up state-funded mental institutions, asylums, for life imprisonment for people who are truly mentally ill and are at a risk to human society. If somebody is protecting an illegal citizen, you could be qualified under the Mental Institute and into the Mental Act, because that has no logical implication. That is the equivalent of saying, the Democrats saying, don't wipe your butt, don't wipe your butt. Like, what? You do know if you don't do that, you could have disease, you could have complications, you could have skin problems, and it's overall nasty, it's nasty to others, right? It has not one benefit. But the Democrats will sit there and look people squarely in the eye like Chuck Schumer. You are a waste of my air, Chuck Schumer. A waste of my air. You're on my list. You are on the list, just letting you know. So many of you are on the list. A lot of you. So, the fact is, people want to keep trying to convince normal people that wicked and evil behavior is good. The blood is on all your hands. Now, flipping script to the righteous churches of my nation, Christian and Jews, right? Judaism and Christianity. We call you now Judeanity. You all should be on soapboxes teaching righteousness. I am so sick and tired of hearing every fucking church service going over bullshit theology like these words that were written down and changed by king, and king, that they're somehow my words. I've given you my words and you still disobey me. You are going to be on the same side as the damn Democrats. Start teaching righteousness. It's simple. My name. What is my name? It is Yahweh Yahuwah. What am I here for? To clean up the earth. That means behavior. That means character. That means getting people back on the right track. We were just talking about this too on our little break. You know, it's amazing that people are still coming out with videos like they just got pumped in the head and go, when's tribulation happening? Oh, when's it end times? Have you been asleep? Have you been in a fucking coma? Like, look all around you. Nothing is the way it should be right now. Nothing. So, again, those who are opposed to having the 10 Commandments, then you have to ask yourself why. Why would someone be opposed to 10 Commandments? Oh, that's because they are a commandment breaker. So they want to be able to easily lead more people astray, 1. 2, they want to be able to have people in this country, again, that are going to be uneducated enough to vote for Democrats. Then they're going to be able to have the numbers pumped up so then they can get federal funding. And then who's getting rich off of federal funding? Why don't we go and compare left and right? Who made what money and from what source? That's very telling too. My point is, the Democrats, since their very inception, have been pro-KKK when it was beneficial, pro-Nazism when it was beneficial, and they're the ones that actually were hanging blacks. They were the ones that actually were coming into churches on horseback, and they were threatening black churches all around the South because the conservatives were the ones trying to break them free. So the actual ideals of conservative versus liberalism has flipped. They even did so much as to switch the names up. So it truly is. Because why and who desires to break the law? So first question is, why do they want people to break the law? Well, because obviously it's benefiting them in some way, right? It's telling their bullshit narrative. And then who desires to break the law? Well, what benefit does illegal aliens have? And to what people? Well, they obviously have a big impact on Democratic voters, which is why they do not want IDs. Do you see how that goes hand in hand? Do you quite literally see how the wool has been pulled over America's eyes and they don't even hide from it? Now they dress up with pink hair and nose rings and then try to convince the world that if you're not like this, if you are not a fag, if you are not a bi or a lesbo, then something's wrong with you. Then you're just a white Christian nationalist. If you are at church on a Sunday, dressed up, trying to talk to me, Elohim, then something must be wrong with you. Who would say that? But literal demons. But literal demons. And it brings to mind these stupid Christians who tried to set fire to a synagogue, calling that the synagogue of Satan. You people disgust me. You are not a Christian. You are an agent of Satan. And I will see you in hell. Because, again, there are no Jews out here burning down Christian churches. No. The Jews, in fact, have taken this shit from a lot of the white Christians, and they have still kept their head high. So there is no infighting, period. If you want to direct your anger, direct it where it belongs. True incarnate demons that just so happen to be on the Democratic side of the governing party and the lawless ones throughout society. Look at the shoplifters who are driving prices higher and higher. Look at the murderers who aren't even here legally. Look at the drug traffickers. Look at the people who are inhabiting houses when they don't even supposed to be here. So again, what party is lawless and why? Because they need to break laws to win. They need to break laws to win. They rely on loopholes to benefit themselves. That's the fact. That's the truth. And who and what hates godliness? And who hates it the most? Demons. Well, what else hates godliness? What hates church-going people? Democrats. What hates law-abiding patriots? Democrats. What hates sensible, logical lawmaking? Democrats. This is not only forming a picture, this is beginning to pin down the black cape of the villain. Now, what abides by and loves godliness? Angels. What abides by law and loves godliness? The true human being. This is what I'm saying. These things paint narratives. It isn't hard to get the narrative. Okay? So, instead of the churches or whatever, everyone trying to hold my bloated Bible, like, that's what I mean. You guys would think you worship Jeremiah or you worship Isaiah or something like that because you guys are willing to hang your hat on ancient biblical writers who on their best day were pinning down about a 70% accuracy from what I as Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, was telling him or her. And you're willing to hang your hat on that while disobeying what I'm saying. If that's your case, then again, you need to do a self-evaluation. You need to get an awareness routine because you might have demonic parasites. A demonic parasite is kind of like putting on a spiritual glass. It's like putting on glasses in a spiritual sense. Because what it does is it actually skews the mind's point of reference. It actually skews what, for example, right? It would be like going into a mental retardation, which is happening on a genetic level, spiritual level, and it is at its all-time high as of right now, all around the world. And imagine, so this might be a lot to take in. Try to hang in here. But if you were to go back, as I as Elohim can go back and review the tapes of history, and we start seeing, like I said, right, when there was mom and dad strong family values, the children were benefiting. The children were coming out smarter. The schools were teaching them the most. The parents were righteous. The children were going on to do great things. We had astronauts. We had innovators. We had airplane makers. We had all these smart people because they were pushing for excellence and pushing for excellence. And they wanted a better future, a brighter future. They wanted everyone in the world in 1950s America, everyone to be able to have that nuclear family where your streets are safe, your businesses are upright, costs are affordable, and everything was possible for all Americans. That is the American dream. That is the American dream. Not getting government handouts, and especially not doing it forcibly, not protesting for stupid, illegally just people that are not here. This is not their home. These are the literal people that have overstayed their welcome, and now they're hampering the grocery bill. And guess who pays for it? People like my lovely wife who works her butt off, and we still have a large outstanding tax bill. And guess what you can't do when you have a large outstanding tax bill? You can't move on to buy a damn home. You can't even save enough money because the money you were going to save is going to go to the fucking tax bill. Taking 5. All right, I'm back. I'm going to try to calm down here because it's insanity that I even have to talk about these things. Like, this should have been so obvious, and yet it's not obvious. Like, that is probably the most frustrating part is, you know, I have churches still going over waiting on something. No, you're not waiting on anything. You're wearing the glasses of the adversary. I suggest you take off the glasses of the adversary and start to see your Elohim for who I am and how I actually exist and interact with the world. Get off of the what Jeremiah or whatever, Malachi, get off of that nonsense. Understand who I am and get your butts to work. Start teaching righteousness. Start telling your flocks how they need to stay steady at the helm through these turbulent waters. The only thing that is going to get us through this is by knowing the good seed from the bad seed. If the good seed are here, I need them here. Because what will happen is when the good seed begins to grow and rise, like the cream rises to the top, the evil seed will remain or continue down their path of destruction, the path of lies, the path that they're continuing down. You should be able to see clearly. And then you see if there's a pastor, right, who is countering what I say, they don't know me. Stay away from them. They are false prophets. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. You see what I mean? And this entire 60s mindset is not a biblical mindset. This free love and peace, guys, that's a fugazi. Civilization stands on the backbone of righteousness. If that is surrendered to Democrats and liberals, then kiss America goodbye. Kiss America goodbye, because it will not stand. It can't. It can't. All right. I'm moving off of this topic, but mark it as a witness. Judgment is coming down the line, and that's just a fact. I do apologize for my aggressive language, but I am extremely hot over this, because this is not the America that I, as Elohim, have been looking forward to for so long. No, this is I don't even have the words to describe what is happening and how much it hurts. It hurts everything. Like, my heart is breaking, because I know there is a people, as we speak, that have ran into the mouth of a devouring lion known as Ali Khamenei, the chair, the supreme leader, who essentially is a demigod. He proclaims himself to be some type of god man, and he's not. He's a demon man. And Ali Khamenei is 500% worse than Maduro. And yet we had no problem ripping Maduro's ass out of his chair so we could free up oil. Well, I'm here to tell you, working with me, Yahweh Elohim, can be a very tight wire, because if there is any type of deal made with a sadistic, evil regime that is responsible for millions of terrorist deaths, or millions of innocent deaths by the hands of terrorism, and the funding of it, and the direction of it, the training of it, and still to this day calling for death to America. Any nation that is calling for death to America is not only a direct adversary, they are directly confronting the United States of America and its God, who is I, and they are going to be eliminated. If there is some other plan in the works, not only do I condemn it, but I will break it. I will remove the path, and I will remove all of them who are going to walk down that path. Sweareth I, saith Yahweh Elohim, the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, the Creator of heaven and earth. Swears I. So there's going to be zero deal with evil. 20,000 plus people have been slaughtered for the promise of a similar freedom that Americans have today. They are self-sacrificing themselves. You want to talk about what is noble. You want to talk about what is righteous. You want to talk about what is a patriot. I get Yeshua's sacrifice made a big way, but let me tell you something. There are people, there are men and women every day, especially right now in Iran and other places around the world. They are running into the fire because of hope. Hope that America has given them. Hope that I, as their Elohim, one day will be their Elohim. hope that I have given them, and then by proxy, me working with President Trump on some good days and bad days, he is backing up my promises with the United States military. That Trump does not mean that you need to go around naming everything after you. I said make my name great in all the world, not yours. Every time your name is tied to something that mine should be, that is a penance. I do not want to go back down this good cop, bad cop road because I'm getting tired of it. I just want people to know the right thing to do and to act. Act as a form of a verb, meaning to do. Not act as in a actor in a movie. So many of these people are, in my opinion, they're just actors. They act a certain way in front of a camera, or they do certain things to appease an audience. I'm God Almighty, and I am prepared to do what I have to do on a cosmic level to get this place under control. Before I do that, I am giving it into the hands of capable men and women to stand up and to fight for what's right, to fight for what makes sense, to fight for what keeps humanity going on the up, not the down, to fight for righteousness, the right thing to do, not the left-hand path, because all those things are going to be destroyed, and all of those people that are going along with it will be destroyed. Seeing people in my house, in my churches, I gotta turn it off. Seeing these people, these nasty people, coming and disrupting the good people. It literally reminds me of when the KKK would storm religious services. And they would storm religious services, and they would get in the faces of black worshipers, and they would say, God doesn't love you. Yes, I do. They would say, God has no heart for you. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have a heart for everybody. And for the Democrats and the libs to try to say it's something about race, no, that is the same song and dance, that is the same game the devil has been playing since day one. He does a wicked and evil act, his people do wicked and evil acts, and then yet they justify their wicked and evilness, and then they call the opposing righteousness somehow it is the oppressor, that it is evil, that it is wrong. The Democrats want a whitewashed, gay, bi, lesbian, illegal society so they can take power and they can run this great nation into the ground. So help me, my name, it is not happening. Not here, not today. Sweareth I, saith the Lord, my vengeance will be taken out upon all those that are opposed to my kingdom and my people who are in my kingdom. I highly suggest the Jesus people start getting with the fucking program, because I am about to widen my net. I am not Jesus. I am Yahweh Elohim, the God of the Bible, the real God of the Bible, the burning bush. I am he who delivered tablets to Moshe. I am he who worked through Yeshua, who is the real last prophet. And I am now born upon the earth, have been for 37 years, as God incarnate, as Yahweh Elohim. Since April the 16th of 1988 was my first breath into the earth sphere as an actual living, breathing flesh unit. My own unit. And I have seen all that I needed to see. But the Iranian people are dying to get remotely close to the freedoms that America has. And agitators, defilers that sicken me are tearing at the goodness of this great nation. If there is not Iranian freedom, then there will be no Trump arch. I will not bless it. I will curse it. I can make kings and I can remove kings. And my name is to be a memorial in all the world. Not President Trump's name. Not a false name like Jesus. That's a false name. You have made a false name great in all the world. That name means nothing to me. It means nothing to Yeshua, who did die. And guess what? He died at the hands of wicked and evilness. That has nothing to do with the Jewish people as a whole. But it has everything to do with wicked and evilness. And the same good-hearted people that want freedoms are being slaughtered by the thousands for it. If America's military doesn't exist to do goodness in the world, then it won't exist, period. Obedience to the commandments, obedience to goodness, or the will of self. The will of self is disobedience to the Bible. It is disobedience to the commandments. It is disobedience to eternal life. And it is destruction. There is no other way. It is destruction. And considering nobody in existence, not on earth or in heaven, but me and my spirit have the ability to cause destruction on a scale such as the Great Flood, such as the Great Asteroid. Those things not only exist, but they exist in me. I don't believe that we're there yet. I believe that there are glimmers of hope from humanity. And I do have to believe that there must be a people that understand me. That is the real hope. Because if by myself and myself alone, if I am forced to make decisions for the world, it isn't going to look good. It isn't going to look good. No. Galatians 6:5. For each will have to bear his own load. Romans 14:12. I don't like Paul, but this is still decent. So then each of us will give an account of himself to Yahweh. Each of you will give an account unto me. Luke 12:48, President Trump, this is for you. For everyone whom much was given, of him much is required. Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men. Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Corinthians 4:2, moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful. And James 4:17, so whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is a sin. And in conclusion, these verses collectively underscore the biblical perspective on responsibility, encouraging us to take ownership of our actions, care for others, and fulfill our obligations with integrity and faithfulness. By reflecting on these teachings, you can better understand your roles and responsibilities in personal and in community. And recognize that agitators often use false teachings to disrupt the truth of the gospel. Engage in prayer and trust in my Yahweh's plan. Watch out for the dogs, these workers of evil. Watch out for the dogs, they are workers of evil. just because they have maybe a priest robe on, just because they have a cross on, just because they say they speak for some religious principle or foundation. Most of them are liars. Because true believers know I am exactly who I say I am, one. And two, those who understand me, they are the children of heaven. They are those that have rid themselves of sin. They've taken off the glasses of Satan, and they see things for what they are and how they truly exist. And it's hard to look at, and you can't hide from it. So before we go today, I want to reiterate the boycott of the Bad Bunny halftime show. This starts in all places, guys. First, righteousness must start in the home. If a parent is not doing right, then you need to get right with me and then teach your children to do the same. If you see an unrighteousness in society, then if you can help the situation, help it. But if you're intervening would make it worse, then don't. But there are things that the churches can do, such as boycotting the halftime show, such as when churches are holding Sunday service, giving confirmation to believers that I'm here, I'm present, I'm working right now in the earth domain, who I really am, the magnificent almighty God incarnate, born on earth, fully God, fully man. That is I. That's enough information to light a fire under these congregations' butts and say, let's get to work. Every corner of America needs to be known. And media, shame on the media for fanning these flames, right? Giving so much TV attention to agitators. It's disgraceful. It does not represent America. Because while all these bad actors and paid agitators and sadistic left-wing radical elected officials who are soon not to be elected anything or official, because honestly the blame goes right back on humanity. You let these things happen. I gave you the land, I gave you the book, like the Pouchy. Have I not given you all everything? And even now, in the end days, I have given you fully me, Yahweh, in the flesh of Joshua. I am the Lord, his righteousness, and I am a real, living, breathing person. But I am not man, I am an Elohim. I am God. And so is my wife. You are never going to be able to cherry pick me, my character, and my family like you do my Bible, so you need to stop it. Alright. I got kid pickup. I want to see some change. We have to.